You guys, welcome back to Trippy Speaks UFC. We are the champions of the MMA content creation world. The rest of the world is just contenders. And look, every like and every comment, and most importantly, every subscriber gives me motivation daily to bring you guys the best MMA content on YouTube. Sean O'Malley has definitely made his mark in the UFC in terms of popularity. Influencers and celebrity both have came out and gave their support to the bantamweight prospect. He has impressed so many people outside of the world of fighting with some of his shocking performances and wins. But the last thing I want to do in this video is to take anything away from Sean. I think that he is a remarkable talent and actually does deserve a lot of promise. But I feel like that he is a bit too appreciated. The casual audience really does like a guy like Sean O'Malley because he produces flashy knockouts and does a lot of flashy things in the cage. That is ultimately a recipe of making a massive star in the UFC. But once again, what separates the casuals from the hardcores is that casuals don't really understand the level of competition Sean O'Malley is doing this to. It takes a great skill and talent to do the things that he does against those type of opponents, but for people to already consider him a future champion is a bit silly. Sean O'Malley is a modern day can crusher who gets heavily promoted and talks the talk and gathers the attention of the casual audience and puts on a firework performance, but against very mediocre competition. A lot of people like to compare his rise to Conor McGregor's because a lot of people thought the same way of Conor, saying that he got handpicked opponents and all the way up till he fought for the title. Anyway, anyone who's familiar with the rise of Conor McGregor knows that he was having some impressive finishes over impressive competition. Sean O'Malley is having impressive finishes over UFC veterans who has clearly lost it all, or inexperienced guys who hasn't had a claim to success yet. So basically what I'm saying here is Sean O'Malley is clearly talented and entertaining. Definitely has my respect, but I fear the fact that he is very protected. I don't think that it's Sean's fault that he is fighting mediocre competition because he's calling out the big names, but the UFC has yet to give him a top 10 opponent because the UFC does see star potential in Sean. But I feel like there's a limit to his skill because I was one of those guys who were riding high on Sean O'Malley and I thought he posed very real threats to the champion at the time, who was Henry Cejudo. But his very first test sank his boat when he fought Marlon Vera. Vera is just one of those hard-nosed, tough guys in the UFC that doesn't put up with a lot of crap from guys like Sean O'Malley. And what is most important when fighting a guy like Sean is that didn't fear him. Say what you want about the fight, but Sean's injury ultimately came from a low kick, which deadened the nerve, and went in for the kill. That is a loss, but Sean is going around saying that he is undefeated and he's not accepting of the fact that it was a loss. Another thing I noticed about Sean's game is that his power is a bit overrated. It took him much longer than usual to finish guys like Thomas Almeida, a guy who is known for being cracked, and then fighting UFC newcomer Chris Moutinho and not being able to finish him until late, which is a BS stoppage if you ask me. All while promising a first round flashy KO. The problem is with Sean is that we don't know how he's going to look against a top 10 opponent. We don't know how he's going to look against a high level wrestler. We don't know how he's going to look against a guy who is still in their prime or is clearly one of the best of the best. What happens if he gets taken down and can't get back up? What happens if he gets a high level BJJ artist on his back? What happens if he fights another kickboxer who is at the level of kickboxing of him? What happens if he's fighting a guy like Peter Yan, who is very well-rounded everywhere and poses different types of threats? What happens if he faces real adversity is what I'm trying to say. Something that he's only went up against once and it went very badly for him. Are you starting to see some of the problems here? There is a lot of unknowns when it comes to a guy like Sean O'Malley, but yet people are saying that he is the next champion. But I guess we're going to get an answer soon because the UFC is looking to book him against Frankie Edgar. A fight that is going to tell us a lot because I don't know if you guys were UFC fans yet when this happened, but I think you guys remember the last time the UFC tested a young prospect against Frankie Edgar. I am, of course, talking about his stunning performance over Yair, a stunning and dominant performance over Yair Rodriguez, another guy who had extreme hype, which ultimately got derailed against a guy like Frankie. And boy, it was ugly. Does the same thing happen again? Because this fight is a great matchup. Because I think it will do a lot for both guys if they can get the win. But until then, Sean O'Malley is going to remain overrated until we can see him against top level competition. And if Frankie Edgar proves to be too much, then I guess this video will just age really well. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Sean O'Malley is deserving of this hype, or do you guys think that his hype is going to get destroyed when he finally does fight top level competition? I really want to know. It's been your boy Trippy, and I'm out, man.